Have you ever wondered why you think negatively? You know, when those times when you look at the people and think they've so got it together and yet you're crumbling inside. What's going on?
So here's our 10 reasons why. The first one is environment. I mean, why do you think that you've got the accent that you do? And that's because you've copied your environment. So if you've been brought up in an environment with a glass half empty, then you're obviously going to have learned that behaviour from your family, your friends, your parents.
One of the other big reasons is being told by a teacher. I remember when I was at school and when I was in classes and I used to sit near the window and I'd look out the window trying to process information, and one of the teachers always said to me, you know, he always picked on me and always said, you know, why are you looking out the window? And I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't realise back then that I was actually trying to process the information. But he always picked on me and he used to say to me, Speakman, you will never amount to anything.
I know. That is so mean, and no wonder. So another big culprit of your negative thinking is if ever you've been bullied or made to feel bad. Now, the reason that you will then start to negatively think is because you're going to have a fear of judgment. So you're going to always think the worst because you don't want to make a mistake.
Social media, this is a big problem because what we do when we look at social media, we look at other people's lives, we look at other people's photographs, and we can't help, it's normal behaviour to compare ourselves to others, and that comparison, and quite often, it's a false comparison because that's not a real life that we're comparing at, because people might take 100 photographs and they'll post one, they'll pick the best one, but we can't help comparing ourselves to others, and that can make us feel bad.
Yeah, and I guess that if you're comparing, then that's got to be a negative comparison because you're always trying to make yourself feel better.
I would say so. It's not often that you look at something and go, wow, I'm much better than that.
Yeah. So another thing that will cause you to negatively think is if you watch the news a lot. And the reason that is because what you're actually doing is you're watching a concentrated amount of bad news, of things that are going wrong in the world. The news is reporting what's going wrong in the world and not what's going right in the world. So if you watch a lot of news, listen to a lot of news, then you are more likely to think negatively.
But also, Eva, essentially we're socially conditioned to look for the negative. You open a newspaper, it's all bad news. You look at the news.
I think judgment, though. I think it's because we all have such a fear of being judged that we're always considering worst case scenario. And if you have been bullied and you have been on high alert for this judgment, then it just automatically gets you into this rhythm of negativity.
Another issue is illness. We all have those times where if we've got a job to do, we can do the job okay, but then if you're feeling tired, exhausted, you just feel ill or in pain, it's just like everything is so much more difficult. And when you look at things in those situations, you just feel negative.
Yeah, and that's why the next cause is actually that, sleep deprivation, because it is so difficult to be buoyant and upbeat and motivated when you're absolutely exhausted. So sleep deprivation will lead to negative thinking.
It's so important to get a good night's sleep, Eva. It's
really
so important. Then you've got to consider the people in your life. We all have people in our lives that make us feel great, but equally we've got people in our lives that make us feel bad. And we say that one way to test this is your mobile phone, because if your mobile phone rings, and you can even be in the shower sometimes, you see the phone ring and it's someone who makes you feel good, you will answer the phone. Conversely, some people, they'll ring you and you see the name on the phone and you just go you can't take the call. You've got to, maybe it's a couple of days before you build up that energy to take the call. So just consider those people in your life will make you feel bad and they'll make you negative.
And then the other thing to consider is the real world and real life circumstances. So if at this moment in time you're in a situation where you're maybe working with negative people, you've got a lot of negative people around you, then that kind of has a knock-on effect. And then if you've got, like I say, your circumstances, so maybe you've got problems at work, maybe you've got financial worries, health issues. So you've also got to look at your current circumstances, because if they're not too great, then your thoughts and feelings aren't going to be too great either.
We've then also got unresolved issues from the past. If you're focusing on things that have gone wrong in the past, that's going to make you feel bad. We're all taught not to blow our own trumpet, not to brag about our achievements, but let's be honest, if who's bragging for you? Who's celebrating those achievements if you don't do it yourself? So it's very easy to focus on things that have gone wrong in your life that you've never resolved, as opposed to looking at the great things that you've done in your life. And let's be honest, the only person that doesn't do anything wrong is the person that doesn't do anything at all. If you are struggling with unresolved issues from the past, or in fact any anxiety disorders, you might want to pick up a copy of our book, Conquering Anxiety, which is now available on Amazon.
Hope that you found our 10 causes of negative thinking really interesting and a great starting point on what you need to resolve.